Let me start, I guess, by explaining what we mean when we're talking about a journalist privilege. Most people are familiar with the concept of a doctor-patient privilege or an attorney-client privilege. They understand that we recognize in law the idea that there are certain kinds of relationships that we need to be able to preserve the confidentiality of the communication. If you as a patient can't talk freely to your doctor, if you as a client can't talk freely to your attorney, then you're not going to be able to get the help and the service that you need. Well, the analogy to journalists, I think, is similar, although it's not exactly the same. The idea is that if a journalist is not able to promise to a source that what you tell me will go to me and will go no further, that in a good and appropriate situation, if you ask for anonymity, I will promise it and I will keep that promise. Without that ability to guarantee that, a lot of sources are not going to feel comfortable talking to the press. Our history tells us that we're no different than many other countries in the world. Sometimes things go wrong in government, sometimes things go wrong in the private sector. People who are working there are in the best position to inform the press, but they have to worry about what the consequences will be if they do that. So what we're asking here is protection for journalists who are getting that information. This is really not a Republican or a Democratic issue. On both sides of the aisle, I think it's fair to say there is discomfort with the idea that someone, a journalist, is providing protection or cover to an individual who is, for example, leaking classified information or making disclosures for a political agenda, purely for the purposes of hurting someone, for example. I don't mean physically, but in a political sense. And the idea is, why should we protect those kinds of disclosures? We shouldn't. We should be punishing them, and we shouldn't be allowing journalists to facilitate that. And I think that is a critical sticking point, because it really does come to the question of whether you want to use journalists essentially as your unpaid investigator, as the way that you're going to uncover crime or disloyalty or whatever, or whether your idea is you want journalists to be getting that information, giving it to the public, and letting the public decide what the best recourse will be. It's very hard to say whether the time is right, but I think the best sign I can point to is the fact that the law, at least as it's currently before the Senate, actually has the support of the Obama administration. Up until now, historically, all the various shield laws that have been presented to Congress have never been supported by any presidential administration. It's not a partisan issue. Republican, Democrat, they all didn't support them. The fact that the Obama administration sat down, negotiated with the journalists groups that were advocating for the law to try to come up with a compromise was, to me, very promising. And so with President Obama's legislative supporters in Congress, I would say that we are as close to the likelihood of this law actually passing and being signed into law than has ever been the case.